Good evening. Sorry, we've had some major computer problems. Hey, Brent. Michigan. Yes, my computer was like running extremely slow. It had to be restarted. Indiana. Dorian. Chicago. Oh, California. I missed behind the lines.
Okay, we are going to skip past the Raymond portion of tonight's programming so that we can
Texas.
get straight into
Houston,
questions. Chris?
Aim low.
Okay, are you done? So
Yes.
I can kick this off? Okay, if you would like to donate tonight during our chat, you can do so by clicking the dollar sign and putting your question with it. You can also go to smallarmsolutions.com and use the donor box link and attach your question to the comment section. I'll get an email and you'll get priority over all the questions that are coming in tonight. Donor box is our preferred method because Google does take 30%. We're going to try to get through as many as possible since we are running extremely late because of these technical problems we're having tonight, but you know, that's the way it is, I guess. Hopefully, yeah. I already see Kirk in here. Okay, because Kirk, you're up first. You borrowed his M&P10, and he wanted to let you know that he had done a bunch of upgrades for it. I'll have Chris look at that later so you can see all the stuff that you did to it. He wants to know if you've had a chance to talk to Monty, if there's any word on the 7.62 rifle.
I have not had any luck getting a hold of Monty. You know, over the I used to be able to call him and pick right up. Over the last year and a half, I just can't get a hold of him. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on with it. Like I said, I just had no luck getting a hold of him. I've asked them about it. At one time, they were waiting on barrels, but I wish I could answer you on that one. I really do.
Just from me talking to Corey over there, which is Monty's wife, she runs Centurion, as I do run SAS. It's just been very overwhelming as far as like parts and things like that. And as soon as they get things in and they're able to make things, then everything's gone. And so hopefully soon. Kevin on Donor Box, thank you, Kevin. Approximately how much force should it take to push out the takedown pins on an AR-15? I measured 184 pounds of force to push the rear takedown pin out to separate the receivers. The manufacturer tells me that it is, quote, within mil spec. I think that is the manufacturer is full of hot air.
You know, I can't say as I've ever really looked at a spec on that. They go across the board because of the tolerances. You can have ones that are fairly easy, and you can have ones that are really, really stiff. It just depends on the tolerance stack on it. You just want to make sure, you know, first off, that you do have your detent in there properly and it's moving freely. But I can't say as I've seen that as being a specification. I'm sure it maybe is, but I've seen them across the board. It all, you know, everything has its stack of tolerances. If you have the upper receiver, the lower receiver on the high end, and then you have the takedown pin on the high end, things could get awfully tight. So I wish I could answer that, but it's just across the board. I mean, you shouldn't have to hammer it out with a hammer. That's not acceptable. But you should be able to take a cartridge tip and make it move.
About how much interference should there be on an AR between the takedown lug on the upper receiver and the cavity and the lower receiver at the rear takedown pin? The lug on the upper receiver is 0.5 inches wide. The cavity in the lower receiver is 0.468 inches. So there is 0.032 interference. The manufacturer tells me that, quote, mil spec, and I believe that, did I just read this whole thing?
Yes.
I think he sent it to me twice. Kevin, yeah, you sent it to me twice. But that was basically the same thing, right?
Yes.
He sent it to me a different version, but he sent it twice.
Yeah, these are all tolerance issues, you know. And for as far as like feeler gauges, the feeler gauges go on the upper receiver where the front takedown pin is to give you a determination whether it's serviceable or not. And if you go into any military armor's manual, that tolerance should be in there for what feeler gauge you would need. It's in my armor's manual.
Andrew on DonorBox. Thank you, Andrew. If you were on the market for a Glock 23 and already had a Gen 3 G17 and Gen 3 G26, would you stick with the Gen 3 G23 or go with the Gen 5 G23?
I'd go with the Gen 5 because you do have recoil reduction with the new recoil spring system, and the 23 has always been one of the hotter of the guns. So I think you would do well by taking advantage of the recoil spring in a Gen 4 or a Gen 5. I mean, obviously, if you're looking at a Gen 4, you may as well go with a Gen 5 and get the extra features.
As a range toy, are there any serious issues with taking a G21, converting to G20, mag extractor and barrel only, and shooting 40 S&W using the 45 recoil spring?
That's not a recommendation by the manufacturer, so I'm not going to recommend it. If you want a 40 caliber, buy one. The 40, the G45, I've actually never even seen those being converted into 10 millimeter because there are some differences generally in the breech face. So I would not mix and match parts like that. What you're gonna pay for all those parts to change everything out, you're better off just buying a proper 40 caliber gun.
Hamish, he just made a donation on DonorBox. Thank you, Hamish. I think his name is pronounced Pavel.
Pavel?
Pavel.
Pavel. Sounds Polish.
He says he wants to thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Found your Q&A session very informative and interesting to watch. I ordered a conversion kit for my Robinson Armament XCRL. The barrel that I ordered is 5.56, 14.7 inches, light profile, chrome moly, 1-in-7 twist barrel. If I decide to use a suppressor on that barrel, am I going to face any issues because of the weight of suppressor? Would it be better to switch barrel profile to heavy? And yeah.
No, it don't matter. This is where you're going to really appreciate your adjustable gas valve with dialing that down so you're not overgassing the system. But no, you'll be fine with either. The weight of the barrel doesn't matter, and neither would the they're all suppressor capable. Just adjust your gas valve accordingly to take that down, pressure down.
What is your opinion on OSS HX QD 762 Ti suppressor?
I've been wanting to test OSS. It looks like a very interesting concept. Again, the problem is I don't have an SOT or an FFL. So if I was to try to get a T&E, we have to go to my FFL SOT, and then I try to have to schedule with him time to go out to use it, and then schedule time with him to be here while I review it. And it just doesn't work. He's a full-time homicide detective for Montgomery County. So I tend to have to use the suppressors that I have. I did talk to those guys quite some time ago. I was hoping they were going to send me one because, again, if they send it to me, I got to go get a tax stamp on it before I can use it. So, I know several of the content creators. Tim over Realtor Aero Channel is a friend of mine. He uses them all the time. He thinks very highly of them. So I'm sure he's got some good reviews on those where you could take a look at, in depth. At some point, I do hope to be able to get access to one to be able to test them myself. I like the concept of it reducing the back pressure, and making a big difference in the overgassing.
Whether you like some of the questions that are being asked or not, let's try not to insult the people that are asking them, because you have to respect that everybody's in a different phase of where they're at in firearms knowledge and experience, and whether you may think it's stupid, to them it's important. So
everybody starts off someplace, and I want to make sure
to support the 2A community, regardless if they're great at what they do or they're just starting out.
I want to make sure everybody's comfortable here, whether you have your brand new people or your experts. We'll make sure everybody's comfortable here.
What do you think of the Holosun HE509T RD closed pistol red dot sight?
I have not used them. I talked to Mr. Savio over a year ago. He's the representative for Holosun, and he was supposed to get me some T&Es out well over a year ago. And I called his number back, and no one's answering. So I don't know if he's even there any longer. So I have not tested any of the Holosun products. However, I do enjoy a lot of the Vortex. I've had a lot of good luck with Vortex. I've used several of their different models. Primary Arms also a lot of good luck with U.S. Optics. They have a really nice red dot for a pistol. So I haven't used those. That's not saying there's anything wrong with them. It just I haven't had any luck getting them. But I have other ones that I've used that I have a lot of faith in.
Is the 6.8 a good move for the military, and why? And which competitor for the weapons bid would you go with, and why?
First off, is it a good idea? I don't think so. The reason I don't think so is because the Army wants to find one weapon that will do everything, and you can't do it. With the weight you're going to have and the size of that, it's not going to be very good for close quarter battle. It'll be good for longer range, say you're in Afghanistan, but you're in close quarter. It's going to be too big. I think people are going to see that when I go back to the M4 because it's more practical. For as far as which one I would prefer, I don't know because I have not had a chance to put my hands on them. You read the same things that I do. So until I can actually get my hands on them to see, the technology is relatively it's different as well. If you look at the use of the polymer cartridge case, I believe that's the one that SIG's doing. It's a new technology. How proven is it? So there's a lot that has to be done to prove these systems. But I just don't think that there's a way to go with a one weapon system for everything. They are far better off having two weapons platforms that are similar, like say a LMT MRP for close quarter battle, and then have an MWS for long range, or a SCAR 16 type for close quarters, and a SCAR 17 for long range. A weapon system that mirrors itself, but will be good for different environments.
What buffer weight for a 20-inch rifle with a carbine receiver extension?
That would probably be an H3. Actually, I would recommend you go with the
shooting an M193.
Actually, I'd recommend you go over to the Voltor and get the one from Voltor, the V5. That's what it was designed for.
Captain's orders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me see if you have a question. I don't see one, but if you have one, please let me know.
Y'all are in for a treat with the video coming up on the Zastava, the ZPAP. Awesome rifle. I think you're going to enjoy it. She also finished up a new crime series, but we filmed, was it 6 or 7 the other day?
6.
6.
Yeah, I went to go put up a poll to see which one you would be most interested in seeing first, and he was like, no, I want the Zastava to go up. And I was like, no, I'm going to put up a poll. I want to see what people, and then I told him, today I was like, the Zastava one. And then on Sunday, we are going to have a new crime series. Now that FEH Hungary has more or less been, I think that's supposed to be resurrected. What products do you want to see from them? I kind of want their high power clones to come back, but with a firing pin block.
Well, they made a decent AK. It was more of a Soviet style AK years and years and years ago. There probably is a market for a little bit more of a modernized high power. That would be nice. I've been looking for a high power for my collection, but with the cost star, I don't want it that bad.
Do you have any experience with Troy Industries micro sights, H&K style iron sights?
Yes, I do. They have both a flip up and they have a flip, and they have a fixed. Very nice sights. Those guys make wonderful sights. I've used them several times. Believe it or not, I tend to more so go for the really smaller, like the M-Bus Pro. Like those a lot better because they are smaller and they give you just as much ability to for elevation and windage and all that good stuff. I think it's also a little bit cheaper of an option, but it's definitely more low profile. But Troy makes excellent sights all the way around, and they do give you a lot of options.
How close are Colt and FN commercial lowers? How much technical data can FN use from Colt? FN
cannot use anything. If there's any way that they were to prove that FN was using their TDP, not only could they sue FN, they could sue the government, Department of Defense, for not protecting their technical data. Now, as far as the lower receivers you're seeing coming out of Colt, with the exception of the auto sear pocket, are mil spec. They are made to the same drawings as their other ones. FN, again, they can't use those drawings. They have to reverse engineer like everybody else does. But if there was any way that Colt was able to prove that they were doing anything with those drawings other than just government contracts, there'd be some big lawsuits.
If you could only pick one AR manufacturer to buy a rifle from today, who would it be?
LMT.
What's your favorite rifle in your collection? What rifle don't you have that you'd love to be able to have or find?
Probably my favorite would be my my LMT Mars New Zealand rifle, because to me that is the perfect rifle. What I don't have, what I would like, I have a couple of them. I would love a FNFNC. I would love to have a body pre-ban AK M that was the Red Dawn era, and I would love to have an HK93.
Saw a USMC M4 last week with failure to eject and very weak 2 o'clock ejection. Gas key looked fine. The buffer looked fine. What could cause this?
Bad ejector spring. I would change out the ejector spring and probably the extractor. Those are the two parts that will affect that. As long as it wasn't failing, that tells me that everything is working properly. If it's not getting out fast enough, that's telling me there's a problem with the spring.
Any idea when Brownells is going to restock their retro rifles?
I don't know. I've talked to Roy about that several times over the last several months, and it comes down to the same thing. The companies that make those for them, they're limited runs. They're more concerned with making current production ones, and they are in these large numbers and getting them out where they can sell them to everybody, than making these one-offs or these very small batches. So it's the production capability that's being diverted over to making what they can mass produce and make the most money out of. It will come back at some point, but we're not quite sure when. And also, for your information on that, I did talk to Roy also. The new gray ones will no longer be anodized. They're going to be Cerakoted because it's too difficult to get someone to be able to do the anodizing in that color.
I feel like our top questions these days, I get them and Chris gets them, is people emailing us and asking us where they can find certain guns. And if we know anybody that we can somehow get them, that we can't help you guys source any guns, unfortunately.
I'm not a dealer.
That's just not what we do, and we don't.
I don't keep up with with any of the distributors or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know if they have in stock.
I think daily I message people and go, sorry, we can't help you with that. What's your favorite Geisley trigger?
SSA. There's also one that they custom do. If you ask them, at least they did, was one for rapid firing. It's one that it was relatively light that help you get off rapid shots on target without having to reset really far. I have a couple of those, but the SSA is by a long shot.
I got a 6920 LE Magpul edition back in March or April of 2014. Was this a good one?
Well, they're all good. If you're asking if it's a complete Colt, the only way to really tell that is to look at the parts and to see if they're marked. You were right. It was 2011 where they lost the contract, but they had contracts that were still ongoing that weren't finished yet. So they were still making a lot of their parts. So you're sort of on the crust right there where it could be or couldn't be. You really have to look for the C on the bolt carrier, the MPC on the bolt, the C on the extractor. Make sure you have a date code on the barrel. It says MP, and it has MP is one character, C 1/7 NATO. You have to look at all those. To look at my video I have out on CR6920 versus LE6920, and you'll see what all those markings are. That's how you'll be able to determine. You'll see pictures and everything what the parts look like.
Somebody's asking if PSA is as reliable as Arrow Precision.
Arrow, I would definitely put higher. PSA does a good job with their ARs. Everything that I've tested out of there so far has been good. The only thing I don't like about what Arrow does is just I don't like nitrided barrels. I like manganese phosphate and chrome plated. All the ARs I've had from them so far, AR-15s or PA-15s, have worked very well. Now, Arrow Precision is they make parts for the U.S. government. It's probably a tier up, but I have to say that the PSA AR-15s I've worked with, there's never been a problem. I can't look at them and say there's any deficiencies. But Arrow Precision uses chrome plated barrels. They're not hammer forged, but they're chrome plated military spec barrels.
Mark 18 Mod O. What is the correct grip, A1 or A2?
Well, it depends. Most of the time, A1, because a lot of those guns came off of M16A1s. It's hard to say. That's the way that would have come from Crane when they were modified. But once they get to units, they can be changed out. If you had an M4 that was converted into, or an M16A2 that was converted, you'd have an A2. But I think to be most clone correct, it would be an A1 grip. Now, the Mark 12s even use the ergo grips.
There are a lot of questions on Centurion.
Yeah,
somebody's asking if you're in touch with Monty at Centurion. When see his Mark 12 come back.
I don't have. One of you guys, or you just got one from him. So I know he's still making them, but I just can't get a hold of him. I don't know why, but he's impossible to get a hold of.
Like I said, I've spoken to his wife, and they're extremely busy over there. What's your opinion on magnesium AR parts like roams, upper, and lowers? A complete lightweight build out is into Daniel Defense LMT AR-10 money anyway.
Well, you're not going to have a manganese phosphate on a lower. Manganese phosphate is for steel. You anodize the lowers. Opinion on manganese parts. Now, manganese parts would be bolt carriers, barrels, your hammer trigger pins. Of course, you do have some companies who are doing that with the manganese, with the nitriding. Again, I prefer the manganese phosphate over nitrided all the time. The lightweight DD LMT, AR-10 money anyway. Well, lightweight is very subjective. You can go lightweight and have a good rifle. You can go lightweight and sacrifice reliability. That's really what you're looking at. Probably one of the best lightweight guns I had was the DS Arms, their ZM4, which was their titanium version. Nice pencil barrel, all nice components. It's reliable. I probably would swap out the aluminum carrier though and put a standard carrier in it. But that's as lightweight as you want to go to keep reliability. You start going much thinner, you deal with the gun overheating very quickly. That the overheating takes failures to extract. So it's really depending on what you look at as lightweight.
Eric on Donor Box, he just says, just wanted to donate to a great information show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. People are fighting over what's better, Arrow or PSA. How is the Trijicon AccuPoint fiber optic tritium brightness compared to an LED illuminated LPVO, or should I just go with an ACOG?
Well, the nice thing about the ACOG is you have the fiber optic. Well, let's just start with this. Tritium. Tritium has a half-life of 10 years, and after that, you can't see it no more. So the only illumination you're going to have is going to be the fiber optic. So I have several Trijicon products here that the tritium is done in. I can't use it anymore. I can only use fiber optics for it. So that's always a good thing. Now, for as far as battery power is concerned, keep in mind batteries go off at die at a very inopportune times. Also, batteries can have negative effects in extremely cold weather. Tritium is fine in cold weather, and the fiber optics are fine in the cold weather. So yeah, the Trijicon ACOG is an awesome optic. If you're living in an area where you're not going to have to deal with -50 or -20, the ACOG is the way to go because again, you have multiple power sources. And most of your shooting is done during the daytime. Sometimes that fiber optic lets in too much light, and the reticle is too bright. And all you got to do is take some duct tape and put it over there and reduce the amount of light that gets into that, and it'll dim that down a little bit.
I'd like to volunteer to clean all your guns and mop your floors for free. First of all, he probably wouldn't let you clean his guns because he's very meticulous and very anal about how they're done. And he probably would think that they're still not clean and he needs to do them again.
Yeah.
But I volunteer all of my floors for you to mop.
Do you do grout?
Yeah. Like, right. 4 kids, 2 dogs. I don't even know what you're getting yourself into. Favorite AK receiver type?
Well, actually, you're going to be seeing it in an upcoming video. My favorite is going to be the 1.5 millimeter stamped. You have the lightweight aluminum with lightweight stamped steel, and you have all the reinforcements to make that gun freaking bulldozer proof. That's my favorite, but I prefer the stamped. I'm not a milled fan.
What optic would you recommend or suggest for a KC SR25 with a 16-inch barrel?
Well, that's where you're getting down to what your pocketbook will allow. If you were willing to spend the money, I think the Elcan Spectre 1.5 to 6, I believe it is is one of the most durable combat optics available and works great with that caliber. Um, I have a couple of vortexes that I put on my long range rifles. They're the I'm trying to remember the models, but they're the other razors. They're expensive. You're looking at over $2,000 a pop. When you get a rifle that's that expensive, you want to put something nice on it. And something else, if you're not looking for it to be a tack driver, you're looking for it to be a combat rifle, VCOG. VCOG is an awesome optic.
Kevin on Donor Box, thank you, Kevin. What are your thoughts on cleaning an AR with soap and water when the rifle is packed with sand and mud that needs to be flushed away?
No.
You're gonna make the man cringe.
Water, you could. I can tell you what the military does. This is when ultrasonic cleaners come in handy. Is because a lot of times when these guns would come back from the Middle East, they were all covered in sand. The only way they were going to be able to clean those is to put them in an ultrasonic cleaner. You certainly could flush them out with that if you want, but you can also get yourself an air compressor and do it. I'm not one for soap at all. Water, you just got to make sure that you dry everything off with the air compressor. But if you got an air compressor, that should be plenty to get any kind of sand or dirt out of it.
Abram on Donor Box, thank you, Abram. Where would you rank the Diamondback DB15 in the PSA Aero rankings?
I would put Diamondback over Palmetto State Armory. Definitely, I would. They also go with the chrome-plated barrels, manganese phosphate, and I know those well because I've worked with them a lot. I did their armor's manuals for them for all their models, and I've had the opportunity to look at all their stuff very closely. They also make all their parts in-house too. But they tend to be a little bit, their QC I think is a little bit nicer. But again, it has the barrel that I like. Phil, and please, you got 231 here. Please give it a thumbs up. Click like. Helps us out a lot.
I examined my 14.5-inch SOCOM barrel that I bought from Brownells almost a year ago. The M and P are two separate characters, but I don't see an R or a W. Any other way to tell who made it?
If you don't see an R or a W, there's nothing there, then you got one that was made at Colt. If it's not a Colt, they have to put some kind of identification of where it comes from. So it looks like you probably have an actual Colt barrel. If it says 13629 and you see no manufacturer's code on the rear near the chamber, you got one made in house, which shocks the hell out of me.
Who's Red on Donor Box? Thank you. What's your thoughts on the 6mm arc? On paper, it seems amazing, but do you think it will quote catch on like the 6.5 Grendel?
Again, I have been waiting for ammunition from that for months, for several months. So I haven't had the opportunity to really run it through its paces yet. Just as soon as the ammo comes here, I will. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, all you guys know what happened with the 224 Valkyrie. Boy, that hype was there. It was like crazy, and then it just died a very quick and painful death. The ARC, given that it was Hornaday who did it, and the way that they did it, it certainly has the potential, but it has yet to really prove itself. So it's an interesting question. There's a lot of these wonder calibers that show up, but they come and go quickly. Few of them actually are successful.
Your thoughts on the URGI combo from Geisley DD? Surefire mated to an LMT lower barrel is government spec, but is better than an LMT. Is it better than an LMT complete rifle?
I prefer the LMT rifle complete. If you're going to for the Daniel Defense, the barrel's going to give you a hammer forged barrel. Is that better than LMTs? Very slightly under extreme full auto. LMT uses machine gun steel, but they're also chrome plated. So the barrels are fairly equal. So I don't think you're going to see much difference with either one of them. For as far as the USARGI, the URGI, why bother going with another handguard when you can get an MRP that has an all one-piece receiver where you have everything that's going to be free-floated? You're going to be able to swap out barrels because what you're going to pay for that handguard and the gun, you may as well buy an MRP.
Need a Yorkie down below. If you hear any whining and you're like, what does that sound? It's the dog who doesn't like Q&As. What is your favorite Colt AR besides the 6920?
Wow. Well, the 6940 definitely. There's a few of them that I really love. I love my A2 Sporter 2 I got when I was 15. I love my AR-15 A2 government model. I love the LE901 because I don't shoot it because I can get spare parts for it. I actually really never met a Colt AR-15 pre-ban. I never met one I didn't like. I really like all of them. Actually, that's one of the things in my collection I wish I had more of, more Colts. I mean, I got quite a few, but the Colts that I love are the pre-band, the green labels.
After the enhanced LMT, BCG, and Surefire OBG, what would be your next BCG pick and what coating?
Well, none of those, nothing other than the LMT is going to. Yeah, that's a class of its own. That is the most advanced carrier that's out there. Um, I probably look at the LWRCDI, their enhanced carrier. With that's a major enhancement. Um, Reliable would be a good combination for those two. Um, and then again, I'm also a fan of a good old fashioned chrome plated bolt carrier. Smith Enterprises chrome carrier.
Joey from Beaumont on DonorBox. Hey, Joey. What single stage trigger would you choose if upgrading a mil-spec trigger on a duty hard use rifle?
Hipperfire. Hipperfire is the nicest single stage trigger ever made for an AR.
Kevin on DonorBox, what are your preferences to prepare an AR for Arctic weather use, where the AR and ammunition are stored cold, -20? You're gonna have to tap into the Rochester, New York life.
That what you're gonna need to do is get yourself some of the new, some of the CLP that's manufactured by G96. That's the new Rev E and F. E is the standard CLP. It's synthetic, and then the F is their bio CLP. Those will take you down to -20 without a problem at all.
You can't. You're going to hear that on the mic.
But you have to be very careful of what lubricants you use. 9 out of 10 of those lubricants will freeze.
Levi.
The actual mil spec G96 is the way to go because it's rated for that temperature.
Did you pick a 365 over a Glock option for your new concealed carry?
Yeah. Everything that I looked at, I replaced it with a Glock.
In all those years, y'all called him a Glock fanboy.
The P365 and it will also and the Hellcat, for me, are the two finest carry concealed options that are out there in the industry. The P365 with the TLR6 that I have on it and in the pocket holster, for me, that is an ideal carry gun. With 10, 12, 15 round magazines, the really nice trigger on the 365, much nicer trigger than the Glock, a higher capacity than the Glocks. I mean, you got the closest thing you can compare the 365 to in the Glock lineup would be the G26. This is much narrower, much nicer trigger. You got to call them like you see them. There's brand loyalty is not a thing for me. I go and look at individual products. I'm not a brand loyal person. If there's something out there that's better, that's what I want.
And contrary to what some people have said, we do not receive any checks from any manufacturers.
No, I tell you LMT because that's what I love. I don't get any checks from Carl. As you see, I'm not giving you any codes. So I'm making money off of you buying anything from LMT. We all have our favorites for whatever reason, and that's my favorite. And I tell you why. Like I said, I don't get nothing,
Well, this question goes back into the same category. What is the best 9mm, Glock 19X or a SIG M18?
Well, when you're comparing them to full size guns, my carry gun is a G45. That's my carry gun, which is a Glock. I haven't really looked at the P320. I haven't been interested in really getting rid of my my G45. For a more of a full size type gun, that if I'm going someplace where I'm not really comfortable going, I can carry that. I got 20 rounds in the magazine. I haven't really had any. I have no plans of replacing my G45 for a gun when I'm going someplace where I'm not comfortable. But the P365, that's every day. Every time I walk out my door, it goes in my pocket.
Wasn't the M18 what I used
Yes, it
to
was.
qualify for my concealed
Yeah,
carry?
she shot it really well.
That was my preferred. He gave me like, it was really funny when he took me to the range and he had like 6 different handguns out. You know, most women don't have that, you know, luxury of having a husband who's going to be able to carry out the best, you know, and whatever handgun, you know, you could possibly want with different optics. And yeah, he really set those up for me. And the M18 was my favorite. It's a big gun, but I don't know. I shot it the best. I was
Again,
most
that's why we have all
comfortable
these
with it.
different ones. You got to find what works for you.
Yep. Yeah, he was surprised in some of the other options he had given me that I didn't like those better, but Adnan on Donor Box.
Hey, Adnan.
Thank you, Adnan. Going back to your quote on the AR-18 being the quote most successful failure out of all the rifles that was influenced by its design, not including hybrid designs such as the HK416, CAR 816, and etc., since they use both the inline construction along with an external piston mechanism. Which modern firearm do you believe is the closest of being the most successful that carried on the AR-18's design influence, like the FN Scar, Beretta ARX, SIG MCX, BNT APC, and etc.?
Well, I guess when you define which one, you're looking at one which is mostly used. Obviously, the 416 is been equipping major militaries. The FN Scar, not so much any major militaries, but SOCOM. It's using their bolt. You look at the SA80, which directly copied it. That's been the British service rifle for since the 80s. Obviously, the ACR took it, but it didn't go anywhere. The T91 Taiwanese been in service since the 80s. I guess it's hard to say which one. I guess if you want to look at numbers, you know, you're probably going to be looking at the 416, the T91. But you know, this is that system is everywhere. Even look at LMT's piston system, has a lot of similarities to it as well. But it has an adjustable gas valve. You know, that's probably been the biggest addition to the system has been the addition of a gas valve.
You're going to love this. If there's a place you wouldn't go to without a gun, you probably shouldn't go there with one.
Well, as I said, sometimes you're forced. If I had to go pick up my daughter in the middle of the night someplace, it's going with me. If I got to, you know, if
but he's saying if you feel like you need a gun to go to a certain place, you shouldn't go there with one. I think he stumbled into the wrong chat. This is not knitting 101. You gotta go. It's next door.
Yeah, well, as I said, you carry a gun because you have to take care of yourself. No one's going to do it for you. I
personally don't, you know, necessarily really want to carry. You know, he made me do it, and I did it. And, you know, but I feel better knowing that he has one. So, what do you think of pair of Ordinances 45s? Haven't seen one of those in years.
Well, they were sold to Colt Canada, and then it just died. Now, back in the 90s is when pair ordnance was big, and probably one of their most successful was the P12, their compact version, a compact 45 with 12 rounds. I'm not a 1911 guy, as you well know, but while I was in college at the gun shop I worked at, the American Sportsman, we sold a lot of P12s. And you know, the P14s, mostly to the guys who were doing you know, combat shooting or doing matches or things like that. Even back in those days when I was a kid, I still said to people that you know, if you want a real world gun, this ain't it. 1911 ain't it. There are too many other options out there that are better guns, more reliable, more durable, take plus P ammunition. But they were very good. They were your first real high capacity 1911. You know, they were probably the first ones that were trying to breathe a new breath of life into the 1911 because it only held 7 rounds. And at that time, the Glock 21s were coming out. The HK USPs were coming out. There was a lot of high capacity 45s that were coming out. I think that, you know, it did decent, but I think as time has gone on, a lot of these 45 diehard guys are realizing that there's better options. There's safer options. And they left, but the pair of ordinances were nice guns. They were well built. They were combat guns. They weren't designed as you know, putting a bolt through the same hole, but it was a good combat gun. If you like 1911s, and it gave you that capacity.
Do you prefer the LCAN Spectre or an ACOG?
Ooh. It depends on what gun. If I have to take my Scar 17, it has to be an ACOG because that's the only one that won't come apart. Um, I probably would go with the ACOG because it would be probably cheaper, and it's still a durable aluminum. You still have the tritium on it. You still have the fiber optic to light it up. Um, you don't have to worry about the cold. I probably would save money for dollar, probably the ACOG.
Do you have any plans on making a video or testing on the Larue MBT 2's trigger?
I would like to, but I can't get anything from Larue. I've tried. I'm hoping to go to SHOT Show this year or next year. I'm not sure. I'm trying to. If I do, that's a company I'm going to try to hook up with again and try to see if I can get some of their guns to review. I would love to review their guns and their accessories, but I've had no way of getting them.
Opinion on FPC going after mass handgun ban?
FPS?
Yeah, FPC, I'm sorry.
I don't know what FPC is. You're gonna have to tell me what FPC is.
Yeah, we don't really do politics though.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we don't. It's probably not the right.
Your thoughts on LWRCDI rifle?
I think for as far as DI rifles go, bang for your buck, that's probably the best one. You get a cold hammer forged barrel, you get full ambi, you get a good rigid system. Uh, I could recommend that one any higher. I have a very good video on that rifle. Again, dollar for dollar, that's probably one of the nicest ones available.
Any experience with Griffin Armament gate-locked suppressors like the 30 SDK?
No, I revert back to my comment on why I don't do a lot of suppressor reviews. I use what I have here because I don't have the SOT.
Any opinion on DS Arms SA58 fouls?
I like them a lot. Those come off of, is it Austrian? I'm not sure, but it actually comes from a country who used Belgian tooling. All that tooling and drawings for the military rifles were bought up by DS Arms, and they're all made to those prints. So you're getting a good mil spec rifle. I have one that I've got a lot of rounds through it. Accurate, it's reliable. They sell those guns for military contracts overseas. They're American made, and I think they're probably one of the nicest FALs that's currently available.
What do you think of Sword International and/or BG Defense Type A external short piston rifles?
Never used them.
What is the best gun you think you would have for zombie protection?
Oh, I would love.
I love that you really consider that. Like, how can we, seriously take out a zombie?
I would take a selective fire LMT New Zealand rifle.
LMT.
Yeah, New Zealand rifle, reference rifle.
You love that rifle.
Yes, I do. 16 inches is optimal for as far as bullet performance, selective fire.
Mars says, I have not been paid by LMT either. I just like to take some free samples.
No, I don't get those either.
Trust me, he doesn't get those either.
Believe it or
Our
not,
bank account says he doesn't.
Most of my guns come from me doing contract work for him and him paying me with that. Say, hey, I want one of your new guns. That's all I get. Most of them is doing contract work for him.
And then I'm over here broke, trying to figure out how to pay the regular bills because he's over there bartering for guns.
I guess
unfortunately, I can't barter for electricity. So
that says a lot to Carl. The fact that I'm working for him, but I want his product. So that certainly tells him what I think of his equipment.
What is your opinion on Timney triggers?
The only one I have ever used was on my Tavor. And looking at some of the different ones I compared for the Tavor, I ended up going with the Geisley over the Timney. Not that it was bad. The Geisley was just better.
1.5 stamped bulged like the M70 or 1.5 stamped without the bulge like the Type 56?
With the bulge. Because that you're going to get a stronger trunnion too.
LMT is releasing a 14.5, 6.5 Creedmoor barrel. Do you think this would be something you would try? What role does it play with a 308? Does it, does not in your, I guess you just want your opinion on it.
I would love to test one if I can get my hands on them. Believe it or not, I don't have any luck getting new products more than you do. It's no different. They've told me that I'm going to get an Estonia rifle at some point. I don't know when it's going to be. All the new products, they have orders. They're going out the door. They're not really interested in doing a lot of marketing right now because they're selling everything. I'm curious myself because if you look at the original 6.5 Creedmoors, people were saying you need to have a 20 or 22-inch barrel, 24-inch barrel. And then you see some of them going down to 20-inch barrels. And I'm trying to think of really how much velocity are you going to lose with a 14-inch? I'm curious to try it for myself just to see what happens with it. I know you're losing a lot ballistically. You're losing a lot of velocity. So I'm curious. I do want to try it, but I'm curious.
What type of finish do you prefer for AR BCGs?
Chrome.
Okay, guys. Well, unfortunately, we have to shut it down for the night. Even though we had technical problems, we can't do a full hour because we have to
go get my daughter.
Pick up a child.
And she's already done. She was done at 9
o'clock. She was done, yeah. So she's actually just sitting at work waiting for us. Thank you for
very much
staying with us tonight and enduring
your patience,
the
technical difficulties,
technical issues.
Thank you very much, guys.
I'll be quickly throwing this computer outside of the window.